Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So this will be a quick review, but mostly my thoughts on the first two episodes of Kenobi. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. If you know my channel, you know I talk about Star Wars sporadically on here. It's not like a big thing on my channel, but like Kenobi, I mean, Revenge of the Sith, the prequels, those are like my childhood. Seeing Ewan back and Hayden back, it's really surreal, and it kind of like hasn't even really hit me yet. Like even after I watched these two episodes, like it still hasn't even hit me that like Ewan is back, like Hayden's back. It's really actually crazy to even think about. But here are my thoughts on the first two episodes. Going to run down what I liked, what I maybe disliked about the first two episodes, starting with the first. So right off the bat, I loved how we started out with a flashback of Order 66. This looks so cool. It looked like something out of the Star Wars The Old Republic cinematic trailers in terms of like the way the lightsabers were moving, just the way it looked. Like it looked so cool. Like I thought it was such a great way to start, the show. And so I really like that. I hope we get more of that. I really want to see like Order 66 in this show. Like that was one thing that I really wanted to get more of, to actually see what happened at the Jedi Temple when Anakin and all the clones came and killed all the Jedi. So I'm happy we got to start out with that. I thought the recap right before this scene, showing all the prequels like leading up to this, it was emotional. It like was nostalgic to see all those scenes, even though I just rewatched all the prequels recently. But I love that. I love having the recap. I love the Order 66. So right off the bat, I thought it was a great and strong beginning. From here, we get to have a deeper look into what Obi-Wan has been up to, right? We see him working. I think that's cool. Like just getting into like the, type of vibe that he's in. He cuts himself off from the Force. Like he wants to do good, but he has to, keep his head low. I love that. And so I love when he goes to sleep and he has nightmares of the past, so he's traumatized by the events of what happened, of the events that happened in Revenge of the Sith, Order 66. And so to see that, actually in like a movie or a series, I thought that was so cool. I thought it was so well done. And then after this, he even tries to talk to Qui-Gon, which is a big thing in the Legends book, Kenobi. And Yoda even hinted it at the end of Revenge of the Sith, that he'll teach him how to contact Qui-Gon through the Force. And I love that Qui-Gon doesn't show up here. It's going to be hopefully something that he does sporadically throughout the series. And hopefully by the end, I hope maybe in the second to last episode, or even the last, like he finally is able to, come into contact with Qui-Gon. And we actually get to hear Liam Neeson's voice, maybe guide him in the right direction or make a right choice. Or even a Force ghost of Liam Neeson would be amazing as Qui-Gon. That would blow my mind if we got that. But I like that will definitely be a plot point in this show. Obi-Wan trying to make contact with Qui-Gon, which is something I'm super interested in. In the book, they talk about that, but even Revenge of the Sith, when Yoda first says that, it was like that movie, in 2005? And like we never even got anything about that for like ever, right? It was like Yoda's going to teach him how to contact with Qui-Gon, and it was like, okay, like that's it. It felt like a throwaway line in Revenge of the Sith. So I'm happy to finally see that have some payoff here, hopefully with this show, right? As we go on with the show, I'm not going to cover everything. We do see one of the Safdie brothers who were directors of Good Time. Oh no, were they director of Good Time? Yes, it was Good Time and Uncut Gems. When he was first announced to be part of the cast, so that was really cool. And it turns out that he's actually a Jedi. And I like his character. He ends up dying later on this episode. But he's there to just sort of like draw more emphasis on where Obi-Wan is at this time. Even a Jedi comes to him for help, and Obi-Wan is like, you need to leave. Like, I'm not even Obi-Wan anymore. The Jedi are done. The Jedi is dead. You need to leave, So I think that was cool how he's there just to, further emphasize where Obi-Wan is at. But really a highlight for this episode was seeing Leia as a kid. I thought that was so cool. I sort of saw a spoiler that might be a plot point in the show, Leia being kidnapped. But to really see it now in live action, it was so good. Seeing Leia and Alderaan, seeing her get all dressed up in like her royal gown and stuff. Super Disney vibe. You can definitely tell, like, even when she's running, the robot looks like it has like Mickey Mouse vibes. It was very Disney, but it was sort of a good vibe for little kid Leia. Like youngling Leia. If like that Disney vibe sort of fits her, right? And I like how she was like quippy with her remarks. She reminded me a lot of Carrie Fisher's Leia. Perfect representation, honestly. And she was a highlight for me. I when this show was first announced, you kind of thought that kid Luke would be like, the kid actor that gets a lot of emphasis in the show because we know Obi-Wan's watching over him. But to see Leia just come out of nowhere and sort of take over the show in a way, I thought that was really cool, right? So as we go along, we see the Inquisitors are hunting, for the Jedi, but it looks like Reva is hunting for Kenobi specifically. So at first we're trying to figure out like why does she want Kenobi specifically? Like why is she want Kenobi? And it turns out in the second episode we sort of get hints that maybe it's a power thing. She doesn't want to seem as weak, or she wants to do it for Vader, which still isn't too much of a reasoning. Like why she would want to bring Kenobi for Vader, to Vader. Like for what reason? To become, some sort of Grand Inquisitor, to move up in the ranks, to become maybe a Sith Lord. Maybe that's what an Inquisitor wants to become. I'm not sure, but it looks like that's what she wants Kenobi for, to prove that she's not weak and to do for Vader, right? So as we go along with the episode, other things I liked was seeing Bail Organa. I love seeing him, Leia's adopted father. I think he's a great actor, so I love seeing him in here. Leia getting chased and then eventually kidnapped. Like I said, I thought that was cool. Kind of like, I sort of knew it was going to happen because of the spoiler, but, to see it actually happen was cool. It was a cool thing. And then I like how Bail Organa even asked Kenobi for help, and he tells him no. He says to go find someone else. And I just love that emphasis on where his character's at. And I love seeing, because Ewan McGregor was so good at this in the first episode, of really showing Obi-Wan's guilt for failing and killing Anakin. I thought throughout the whole episode, you kind of see it in his face when Uncle Owen even says that you failed Anakin. Like you see like that hurt in his face, like he sort of grimaces, like it's like a little twitch for him. Like he knows that he's failed. And then even Bail Organa even says that like Anakin may be dead, but you can still do good or whatever. And like you can just tell like whenever it's brought up, it reminds him of his nightmares of what he did like 10 years ago. So I love seeing that hurt in him. I think Ewan plays that really well. And then the last closing moments of that episode I like a lot as well, when he digs up the lightsabers. When we find out that Reva's plan was actually to kidnap Leia, to bait Kenobi to come out of hiding. I thought that was a great like kind of like twist in a way. Like I didn't actually think it was Reva when Leia was first kidnapped. I was sort of like, why are they kidnapping her? Maybe for like money, but it turns out Reva's behind it. So that Kenobi can come out. I thought it was actually like a genius plan. I really liked it. And then, but it did make me think like, because this is a good point to bring up. Like Kenobi's supposed to be there to watch over Luke, right? He's supposed to protect Luke no matter what. He just saw Grand Inquisitors show up on Tatooine, put a lightsaber to Uncle Owen, and this is when you decide to like leave to go find Leia. Like I get that Leia needs help, and even Bail Organa even says that she's just as important as Luke. So it makes sense for him to go. It's just like I just kind of wish that he made sure Luke was like extra protected in some way. Either telling, having a scene where he tells Uncle Owen like he's leaving, so maybe he leaves him with a lightsaber or like a blaster or like something, or maybe like getting Ahsoka, or some sort of extra protection, which maybe he did, maybe even like a droid, something. I don't even know, but it just felt like weird timing for him, but I guess he has to do what he has to do, right? So for my rating for this first episode, which I talked way too much about, is a 4.3 out of 5. I thought it was a great start. Not perfect. There's a couple of things that I'm not going to say there's a negative right now. I don't really want to judge this show too hard before it's all over, because I think there's a ton of good things to come from this series that I can't wait to see. And I thought this was a close to perfect, though, setup episode. Introducing all the new characters, the Inquisitors, where everyone's at. I really enjoyed the first episode. But now let's move on to the second episode, where it should go by a little bit quicker. So in the second episode, I loved how we got that cameo in the beginning with Tamora Morrison playing the homeless clone trooper. That was Tamora Morrison. It looked cool, like seeing a homeless clone trooper. As we know at this time, the Empire is slowly getting away from clones, as we saw in the Bad Batch, and taking in more volunteers. So I love seeing that, like what really did happen to the clones, like after, if they weren't killed off or whatever, are they just out there in the universe? And as we can see, like some of them are homeless. I thought it was a cool little thing to add in there. As we go along, we see like that Jedi scammer guy who's played by the Indian actor who I forget his name. And, like for me personally, I can always point out like those comedic characters that are only there for like the comedic relief. And they always sort of annoy me because like I just know what they are. Like they're trying to bring like this lightness to the show, or, like this quippiness or like comedic thing, which is fine. I know a lot of people laugh at it and they enjoy it. For me, I just usually can't get behind the comedy when like I know like the character's forcing it. So for him, the Jedi scammer thing, he was fine. I'm not complaining about him. So as we go along, I liked how we see Kenobi fighting, like without the Force. Like he's got to take down some of these bounty hunters that are coming after him as he's trying to go find Leia. And, this is the first time kind of seeing Kenobi fight without a lightsaber, without a blaster. I like how aggressive he is in trying to find Leia. But as we go along, like he falls right into their trap, into Reva's trap. But luckily he has like that, like those drugs on him, like that smoke drugs. He puts it down, and he's able to go find Leia, right? And so I love how him finding Leia is like this, is like all this stuff, like how he's able to save Leia. That all plays into A New Hope, where eventually Leia will call upon Ben Kenobi for help. You know, it's like that famous thing she says, "Help me, Obi Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope," right? And so I like this must be the reason of why she calls upon Obi-Wan, because she knows that her father called upon him when he needed him most. So it's like when she needs help now, who's she going to call upon? The same guy, you know, because she trusts her father. So she calls on Obi-Wan. So I like that. So around this part for Reva, this is where, again, she's a character I don't want to hate on too much before the show is over. But like just her line delivery, for one thing, is a little bit forced. Like the way she says some things, like even at towards the end when she's like, Obi-Wan, like come out, and then like even her facial expressions when she's trying to be like aggressive or mean, I just don't believe it, or like I don't know. I really don't want to be harsh on her because I think she could develop into a good character, even though her character arc does seem very predictable. I can already tell like what's gonna happen to her at the end. She'll probably get like betrayed by Vader, realizes that like the Sith or whatever, you know, like it's. I hope they can maybe do some twists there. But as we go along, this is where we get like the Leia running away. We get the chase scene. I thought this was fine. I thought the chase scene sort of made sense, you know, when she sees that Kenobi is on the bounty hunter's, radar, that he's trying to go after Kenobi, so she thinks Kenobi's a bad guy. It made sense, and she wants to run away. I get it. So the chase scene was fine, and then I like how Leia falls and Kenobi has to use the Force. I actually got hyped for this. You know, this is the first time that he's probably using the Force in 10 years, and it's to save Leia. I thought it was cool. I got really hyped for it. I enjoyed it. After this is where it gets a little clunky for me when he tells Leia to go to the ship and he's hiding in the cargo, base or wherever it is when Reva comes. And this is where he learns that Anakin Skywalker is still alive. He thought he killed Anakin, and Reva says, I'm going to bring you to Vader. And he sort of connects the dots, Kenobi, and he's like, that's right. And then she's like, that's right. Anakin Skywalker is alive. And when this show was first announced, and I sort of knew that Kenobi didn't know that Anakin was Vader, I was so hyped for when that moment's going to come of when Kenobi does find out that Anakin is alive and that he's Vader. I was like, I hope it's when there's a confrontation between them and Obi-Wan still doesn't even know that Vader's Anakin, but he's looking at Vader. And then I thought maybe Vader could say something like, I am Anakin, or he takes off his helmet, or says something that would... I wanted Vader to be the one to tell him that he's Anakin, Instead of it being Reva, so in your face. Still a cool reveal, it was still a cool moment, but for me personally, I would have done it better, which I hate saying that, because these are professionals, they know what they're doing. But I just wish it was a stronger moment. It didn't even feel as strong for me. But after this, we even see Reva stab the Grand Inquisitor, which has a lot of people speculating. I think it was a very Sith move by Reva. As we all know, Sith always stab each other in the back as they're fighting for power. I thought it made sense for Reva to do this to her higher up. But the thing is that the Grand Inquisitor does show up in Rebels, and Rebels is after this. So the Grand Inquisitor is alive in Rebels, so I guess the Grand Inquisitor is not dead here. Even though some people are saying that maybe this isn't our Grand Inquisitor, maybe this Grand Inquisitor dies, and then by the time Rebels comes, it's a different Grand Inquisitor. Maybe that's why the head shape is different. It would actually sort of make sense if that's what happened. I mean, I wouldn't mind it. It makes sense, like I said. But I'm thinking that maybe he's just alive, and that Reva stabbed him, but he's alive. But then that would really sort of change a lot of things. I don't know. Maybe he is dead. I guess we'll find out. But that was a crazy moment, but it also threw me off. It was because it just confused me. And then I loved the last shot as we see Anakin in the back of the tank healing up. He looks so cool, and with the booming voice or breathing of Vader at the very end as it goes to black, perfect. It gets you excited for the continuing episodes, right? So if my rating for the second episode is a 4.1 out of 5, I think it was a little bit less than the first episode, but I still enjoyed it. I mean, honestly, like I said in my little review thing there, I do hope and I do think that they'll only get up from this episode. I'm usually in shows, if if a show is going to have a weak episode, I would want it to come in the second, because it just sort of makes sense for like the second episode to be sort of like a filler in some ways, depending on how many episodes and stuff like that. But I'm okay if I'm hoping that this is like the lowest I'll rate an episode is a 4.1. If it goes anything below that, like if it's like 3.8 and stuff like that, I might be a little bit disappointed, because there's a lot of high expectation for the show. This is something that's important for a lot of Star Wars fans, but it's not something that I think a lot of us want to hate on at all. So any negatives I said, take with a grain of salt, because they could easily be overturned the next couple episodes as I fanboy over any sort of epicness that happens. But let me know down below, what do you guys think of these first episodes? Did you what problems do you have, if any, or are you just loving it? You can tell me, is this perfect for you? Because if it is, I can get it. But if I think there is just one or two things that annoy me, and it's really just maybe Reva a little bit, and her being the one that tells Obi-Wan that Anakin's alive. That's that kind of annoys me. Everything else though, I think is really good. I'm really enjoying it. Love the vibe. Glad to have Star Wars back on a weekly basis. It's going to fly by. 6 episodes, it's going to fly by. So that's pretty much it. If you watched for this long, thank you guys for watching. And that's pretty much it. So have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you on the next video.